everybody. Looks like it's probably about time for a proper introduction to Mr. Hancock. So, I have a recreational airport and a gun range pretty close as the crow flies. So I have a lot of external background noise, basically. But that's a little walk around, I guess. And I'm going to get out the hose. Never mind. Oh yeah, watch this. Boing! That's pretty neat. I'm going to get out the hose, the water hose. Anyway, and give Mr. Hancock a rinse. He's dusty. And then we'll get inside and actually do a walkthrough. See you real soon. Okay. Theoretically, we're back. I don't know how the wind noise is going to work, but basically, I've got my Work Tunes headphones on, and theoretically, the sound is coming through the Bluetooth. So we're just going to rinse off Mr. Hancock, get the dust off. Pardon the air in the hose. Air hose. Yeah, I gotta stop myself here. We'll do this as quickly as possible, and then we're just going to go inside and get a better, proper introduction. So I haven't done. I'm not going to use any soap or anything. I'm pretty confident the sound is pretty terrible through there also, but at least you can hear me. Theoretically. I may take a sponge and just knock off some of the stains that I can get to. But I don't think we need to get involved in any soap. Also, sort of curious. I know there's going to be water penetration, but kind of curious as to how bad. I don't have all the seals in here. I mean, the ones that are here is bad, but I don't know, just curious as to how bad. I made a promise to him that I wouldn't take him out into the rain until he was ready. He spent his life before I got him under a cover, outdoors. He was basically a terrarium. I'll explain that more in a little while. Oh, the sponge is in my hand. I just want to knock off some of these things. Oh, slow down. I think my... If I don't spray that camera, I don't think it's waterproof. Oh, it might be. It is a Samsung. Yeah. Never mind. I don't think I'm going to even bother with that. That's too much like work. And without my soap, it's really not accomplishing that much. Either way, like I said, I just wanted to knock the dust off. Knocking the dust off with the hose. Meanwhile, I'm doing what I said I wasn't going to do. But I'm definitely not OCD at all. Just stop looking at it. That, theoretically, is Mr. Hancock pulling in from 3 different angles. Okay, so it's after lunch now. Once again, the new old camera, which means I went to an old cell phone, a good one, and found it has a much better camera with much more capabilities than whatever I already had. Excuse me. Again, I just had some lunch and just kind of going to do a walk around before I set up the tripod. And like I said, a proper introduction to Mr. Hancock. Mr. Hancock is a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle. Shout out to Puddin's Fab Shop. Boing. Definitely one of many YouTubers I watch that have motivated me to not only get my projects going, but start a YouTube channel. Kind of just trying to get some angles for you. Don't know if I'll even use this audio. Not the greatest spot, but I think it's kind of the best light. So we're going to finish this walk around. I'm going to set up a couple more lights and a couple cameras maybe, since I can now. Or I am set up to do so now, I should say. We'll take some time to get to know him a little better. I know him fairly well, but I just kind of started putting out videos, and there is, of course, a story. So, I'm sure one of the biggest questions on everyone's mind is, what is that? I have not tried to hide it at all. It is one of Mr. Hancock's issues. I'm going to go ahead and back up a little bit, and we'll open up this door, and I'll kind of show you what we're looking at here. Let me get you open there. Ah, I forgot there's a screw in it. That's to keep it from vibrating and or doing any more damage. I say more damage. That screw isn't going to do any major damage, especially not when you see what we've actually got going on. That didn't sound good. So we're just going to take a look at this so you can see, and then we'll go in from the driver's side. Hopefully this is dried enough that it doesn't shred. Yeah. So what we have is a floaty float. There's no connection down there. There's nothing to connect to. I don't really have anything to set this on right now, but hang on just a second and I'll get a jack stand and I can leave this open. Perfect. Excellent. Almost as if I had done this recently. Probably should have paid attention to where the door winds up, but it's somewhere around there, I would say. We finna find out. Oh yeah. Okay. So now let's see what you can see. Let's get you some more light there, bud. Yeah, I'm gonna come in from the driver's side. Because that door functions normally. It's not perfect either, mind you, but we'll show you. But anyhow, from the angle you're at, you can see that the previous owner cut out a big old chunk and left it that way. Yes, it's going to need heater channels, it needs pans. Again, we'll get further into that. I don't know if you can even see what I'm shining the light at right now, but I'm going to bring you in here and give you a better look. All right. So I'm sure you can see now. Like I said, the previous owner, fire extinguisher for test drives. The previous owner had obviously cut out a bunch of sheet metal with intentions of fixing it. We all know about intentions. I should have kept the flashlight with me. I'm not sure where I put it. But anywho, there are definite rust issues with this car. However, my thinking on that particular subject was, what better car to learn the sheet metal repair than a Volkswagen Beetle. There are plenty of them out there. There are plenty of parts out there. And there is plenty of information out there. I'm going to try and keep my opinions about a lot of things that I say to myself. But we live in the information age. I grew up watching this happen, basically. I'm 51. We have all of the information pretty much in the world within reason at our fingertips, and people use it for the stupidest stuff. We're going to leave that there. Anyhow, as far as information about Volkswagens and Volkswagen repair, back to the matter at hand, there was plenty of information on paper and books and magazines years ago, but at this point, anything you need to do to a Volkswagen, you can figure out how to do it. So the reason I'm saying this is to give you a little bit of encouragement in whatever your car project is. These things are dying out. The old cars are rusting away, or you can't find them in this state as often as you once could. I'm not going to say what I paid for this car, but I got a pretty good deal on this car, knowing that it needed some work. But the reality of it is this car is not bad at all. As someone who's been into cars for as long as I've been able to be into them, pretty much, I remember riding my bicycle around the neighborhood, because back then you could do that without worrying about being stolen. And helping people in the neighborhood work on their cars. And I learned a lot at a very young age, and by the time I got my driver's license, I was way into it. Anyway, I'm just rambling, basically. Point being, people aren't into old cars. I don't have any children, but you gotta get your kids into this stuff, because it's a dying thing, and the video games and the YouTube and all that is taking away from a lot of it. I have purchased the panel to repair this section, and that's going to be coming up in the relatively near future, especially now that we're doing the YouTube thing, because it's also a great motivator. So anyway, let's actually possibly bring you in over here now, because this is kind of a better angle to be able to see what's going on in the car. So come on back over this side. All right. It's Cheesy Guy. These are actually seat covers. Oh, I just discovered something. Interesting. So it's a seat cover covering a blown out seat that has blown out. But that means the seat cover can come off and be repaired. Anyway, I'll try not to get my finger stuck in there. All right. extinguisher is going to stay in here. So, like I said, Mr. Hancock, he came across my radar through a friend who basically told me of a guy who had a bug in his backyard and was looking to get rid of it, and the number was pretty low. I went over and looked at it, and with the price where it was and the fact that I had some money in my pocket at the moment, I definitely jumped on the deal. It was not perfect, as you can tell. Far from it, as a matter of fact. But in relatively good shape overall. All of the glass had been pulled out. Basically, somebody, it looked like, had plans of doing the body work and fixing the car. And basically what had happened was, he took it apart. I think I've mentioned this in one of my other videos. Basically took it completely apart and sort of put it in boxes, but not really. I think there were parts there that I didn't find. But anyway, and then it ended up in his backyard under a tarp, which I'm in Florida, if you haven't figured that out yet, or if I haven't mentioned it. That's a terrible thing to do. And I think I'm kind of cavernously echoing, which is sort of neat. Anyway, that's a terrible thing to do in Florida, because what you do is you create a terrarium. And as I'll show you later, I don't know if you've seen these pans yet, but I'll show them to you in a moment. Come around and grab you. But I believe these pans were replaced, and then the car had all the windows removed and was parked outside under a tarp, and like I said, created a terrarium. And these pans need to be replaced again, I say again, in my theory, even though I'm pretty sure they were new. I don't know how long this car sat in the backyard. I don't know that much about the history. I know it sat for a while, and when I got it, it was full of water. What could hold water was holding water. The reason I say that I think the pans have been replaced is if I climb under there with the right light and the right camera, I can probably show you stickers, like manufacturing stickers on the bottom. And the fact that the bottom of the pans are black and the inside of the pans are rust. So that's one of the many negative aspects, because at some point in the near future I need to do pans on this car again. I've never done pans. I've never done anything really body-wise. I had an '84 Toyota lowrider years ago that I Frenched a power antenna in. That was kind of cool. I have no video of photos of that. But other than that, you know, life caught up with me and I got out of cars for a while. I was always into cars, but not playing with them. Now I'm getting back into playing with them, and we're going to learn the body stuff. The mechanical stuff I'm pretty good at. I can, my friends kind of know me as the guy that can pretty much get anything running. If it's possible to get running, I'll get it running. And if it's not possible to get running, I'm not afraid to take it apart and put it back together again if I can get the parts. Not an engine builder or transmission builder or anything like that. I mean, I have done it, but just general mechanics. I fix broken shit. Anywho, let's get you around here to see these pans. Oh, this is gonna hurt and it's gonna be noisy. As you can see, I'm not falling through, although they definitely just flexed when I put all my weight on it. But I'm just trying to clean out some of this stuff because I haven't while I'm in there talking to you. I need to get a vacuum in here and get all this rust flake and all that. This is the string trimmer line, weed whacker string trimmer line that I used to put in the windows. I did not film that because, again, I've talked about doing a YouTube channel for years, and I talked myself out of it for years. I'm taking it pretty seriously this time and actually making it happen. So here's where I tell you to like and subscribe so you can help my growing YouTube channel. Anyhow, like I said, let's get you around here so you can look at these fans. So yeah, we've definitely got some rust issues, like I said. I should totally know the name of these parts, but the pillar there, B pillar? I don't know. This is, again, any of these parts are available. I am just starting to learn to do the thin sheet metal, which is one of the hardest things to do, and I'm doing it with a flux welder because I don't really have the budget for gas right now. I'm sure I could swing it, but I'm kind of stubborn and I like to learn things that people say isn't possible or whatever. And I know it's possible because I've done it on this car. But just dialing in the nuances of not blowing away, because that's thin metal. Anywhere around where this has a hole that you're trying to repair is thin metal. So that's why you do go ahead and cut out the area around it. But without getting into too many details, basically the flux core welder in its initial contact is hotter than the regular MIG welder. And that extra heat, especially if you hold it on there for any period of time, more than just a tap, will blow a hole right through the metal. So there's several tricks that I'm still, like I said, learning. And I'm not going to get into let's watch Brian get frustrated learning to weld. But once I get it down, I'll do these repairs and we'll film it. So, and it may entail, like I said, buying a bottle of gas and making the adjustment. But like I said, financially, I'd much rather figure out how to do it with a flux core. Like I said, I keep saying like I said, so I'm going to stop saying like I said, like I said. Anyhow, so we've got a little bit of breakfast here, breakfast flakes, for sure. The heater channels and see, there's been somebody who's put some fiberglass in here. This is new. Unless that might be factory? I don't know. Like I said, I have not thoroughly been through this car. I basically checked it to make sure there wasn't anything structural that was going to fall apart if I took it out on the road, within reason. But my goal was to get it running and driving, which, as you all know by now, I've done. If you don't know, I'll leave a link to the playlist of Mr. Hancock. But like I said, at this point, I'm pretty confident that he is worth putting some more time and effort into, and he seems to get you guys' attention. So, in the effort of saving another car and growing a YouTube channel, we're going to do some work on him for sure. Said I've got a couple other projects going too, but this is definitely going to be one of the main ones. So let's take a little bit more of a look around and see what's going on. So hopefully I can keep the tripod noises to a minimum. But the passenger door, like I said, other than of course that pillar, A pillar I guess, overall is decent. Window works, regulator works, although it did make a weird noise earlier. But try not to get too much shadow going. Bottoms aren't rusted out. There is rust, of course. But again, you know, people think Florida cars, I don't know, I've heard people think that Florida cars aren't rusty. It depends how they were stored. We have a lot of humidity. And if your car is stored on the ground, everything low and close to the ground pretty much is going to rust out. One of my other projects, the Yamaha DS7, let's do that. The bottom of its wheels are the worst part because they were obviously in the mud or whatever for years. Pop out side windows. Sorry about that. Pop out side windows was something that it came with. It actually came with 2 sets of pop outs. And at this point, I think I've got 3 sets of flat glass. It did have the back glass, although I, again, put the pudding sticker on there. It had the gaskets, the window seals, I should say. It was a complete car in parts. Like I said, a basket case, as we say. I'm trying to do this in a fluid shot and not make a bunch of terrible noises. The tag is registered and insured. 400th anniversary is the 400th anthem is the 400th anniversary of St. Augustine, which is the oldest city in the United States. Yeah. And North America? I don't know what that deal is. Anyway, I should know all that stuff. But these taillights came with the part stash that I got. These gaskets are new. I just put those on. Those, I had a set. I bought a set, and a set came with the parts haul. This Bondo is not something that I did. This is something that I'm going to find the video and throw it into the that Mr. Hancock playlist. But yeah, this kind of stuff is something that I would have done with my first truck before I had any knowledge of anything. And I literally just hit it with a hammer one time and that chunk flew off. Anywho, he's got a 1600 dual port out of a, excuse me, 1600 dual port out of a 73. I have all this written down. I've done the research. It is an alternator. Although one of the things I have not done yet is check to see if it's actually charging. I know the generator has to have that light in the dashboard in order to work. I'm not sure if the alternator does, because I do not have that light. I have it. I ordered it. I got all new light bulbs. But so far he's been starting every time. Anyhow, this is a brand new Amazon carburetor. I have a shelf full of, I say full, I've got at least 3 carburetors over there. But in, again, this day and age, it was actually cheaper for me to just get one of these. And I read the reviews, and basically most of what I saw said be aware of metal shavings, which is part of the machining, that some of them weren't cleaned great. And I think I ran into something where I did have to take it apart and go through it real quick. But otherwise, I'm pretty confident that I haven't done anything, pretty confident. I have not done anything major to this thing. I don't remember if I had an issue with it or not, or if it's just in my head because I read it in the reviews. Either way, I know when I threw it on here, it fired right up once it had gas in it. And now that I've tuned it in, you've all heard it start. I mean, now that it's cooled off, if I hit the gas, that choke returns to where it's supposed to go. And I don't know if you heard it earlier, but you know, once it warms up for a couple minutes, I tap that gas, it drops down the idle. And again, I'm pretty adept at the mechanical stuff, so I mean, I've adjusted the valves in this thing, I've got it pretty dialed in. But internals, I have no idea if it has any type of performance or upgraded anything. Again, I have a feeling that this motor was possibly put in whenever the pans were done. The reason I say this stuff is like this fuel pump was relatively new. It had relatively new spark plug wires on it. You know, the alternator, regulator, all that stuff. Just kind of caught my eye that considering the condition of the car overall, sitting in the backyard and everything, there was definitely some new stuff on it. At some point, you know, ran when parked kind of situation. When I got it, the carburetor that was on here was half put on and half taken apart. It was definitely not running. I got it running again. I'll put them in the playlist if they're not there already. I did film a lot of that, the process of me getting it running off its own fuel system and all that. But anyway, that's the motor. Ugh. Oh yeah, I use motor and engine interchangeably. If that's a problem for you, do some research. Here we go again. These wheels, I think I mentioned in another video, you know, they're fake Fuchs or whatever. I can clean them up pretty well. Again, I've cleaned up plenty of motorcycle wheels and everything. But I don't particularly like them. I do have a set of factory wheels. I mentioned again in the unboxing of those parts that I got. I scored those super cheap. And again, none of that stuff is perfect, but I'm not going for perfection. I'm not that guy. I can't afford to be that guy. Get a shot of that for sure. I'm going to go turn that light off because it's annoying. But anyhow, that Bondo there, none of that Bondo is me. So yeah, again, driver's door. I believe is actually in even better condition than the passenger door as far as the bottom. Crunch. There's some stuff in there I'd need to vacuum out, but I don't think the bottom's rusted out or anything. The corner there, A-pillar, is rusted, but nowhere near like the other one. I would probably, I'll have to explore it a little bit, but I'll probably just patch that as opposed to taking out the entire piece and putting it in. The passenger side is definitely rustier, and I don't know why, but the heater channels are rusted out on this side as well. Somebody used the jack point at some point and bent the shit out of that. Again, we got Bondo and half started body work. Again, I don't know the history enough to know the person that had it before me. Sorry about that. I'm not sure if he did this or if the person that had him before him did or what. But that's the part that kind of irritates me, is I'm pretty sure there was a nice patinaed paint job under there that one of the recent owners this is the only fender that I can really get to it. I've tried to clean the primer off in other places, and I think they may have sanded it down to metal. So, you know, again, if you didn't see earlier when I was washing it, the roof. So somebody's been after this car. The reality of it is I've been over it with a magnet, and I don't really see, other than this bullshit, pardon my French, other than that, most of this stuff looks like it may have actually been done somewhat professionally or by someone who sort of knew what they were doing. Anyhow, let's close that. And that's the door closing, by the way. That was nice, huh? Well, I think I can clean that off. The mirror, you know, is worthless. As far as the front end, uh, you know, we got some definite issues here too. The fender welt or whatever it's called is not there, so I got to pull this fender off. Again, the reality is I need to do pans on this car eventually, but I'm not there yet. So I don't know if I'm going to bother with that. You know, the car was already kind of taken apart, like I've said several times. I've also said, like I've said several times, I'm pretty confident. The car had already been taken apart. What I was trying to do is get it back together to where it can run and drive. So I'm not trying to take things apart yet. I will as time goes on and as we progress with the project, of course. I actually have better grills here that came with that parts haul. This hood has definitely had some work done to it and needs more. We've got 3 slices here where somebody was trying to reshape it. And again, it was at this point that someone parked it. So wherever they cut and sanded off the paint is now rusted away. And, you know, I don't really want to buy a hood. So this is going to be more metal repair, which I'm not that intimidated by it. I just don't want to chase my tail trying to learn something as I'm doing it. Anyhow, I've talked to a bunch of guys and they've totally given me confidence. Whereas it was definitely something that my point being, it was something that I was intimidated by, sheet metal repair. Because I've come across many really good deals that had rust issues. But the way I'm looking at this, at my age, with this shop that I've built, if I can learn that skill, that opens up a whole nother angle of cars that I don't have to be afraid of. Because some of these cars just need a couple sections of metal cut out and replaced. Going back to the Volkswagen thing and why I decided to do this car, many of the vehicles that are out there, old Chevys, a lot of the old muscle cars, all that, those panels and parts are available. Where people lose their ass is paying someone else to do all that work because it gets expensive and it takes time. But I enjoy what's called sweat equity, which is doing it myself. And I will save as much money as I possibly can. I'm not going to necessarily do something that I'm going to mess up because I don't like messing things up, although, you know, it's all part of the learning experience. Anyway, speaking of messed up, now that we've got this open, here we go. The electrical system on this car was missing a circuit and all of the schematics that I was looking at, as I understand how to read a schematic and how to read a meter and basic electrical wiring diagrams. When I tried to get the electrical system set up, I was very confused by the fact that there was a circuit missing, and therefore some wires had been moved. But I was able to figure out that that was just the radio and dome light circuit, which this car was a radio car. I do have the bezel, dash bezel, whatever, but no radio. But said once I figured out what the missing circuit was and was able to trace, that's what the blue tape is. The blue tape is me labeling things when I was testing things, trying to trace all the circuits and see what circuits were broken or failed, burnt up, whatever. The only things that really had any issues that I found so far is the headlight circuit, and I've repaired that already. excuse me, again. I have not checked the windshield wipers. They need new blades, but the arms, motors, all the gears and everything is there. I haven't even tried to power it up because I don't want to scratch the windshield because that's a brand new windshield. The windshield was the only piece of glass that I did not have, by the way. When I went to actually get this thing running, I still could not get power to the coil. And what I discovered, long story short, is there's a kill switch on this car. So that was kind of what really got me tracing all of the wiring. So once I discovered where the kill switch is, which I'm obviously not going to tell you, and flipped it the other way, I suddenly had power to my coil. And like I said, headlights, I had to go through some wiring, the bulbs, I think I had 2 good bulbs that came with it. I've had to replace some light bulbs, definitely, and sand some contacts and stuff like this. I have the gaskets that go underneath these. I actually just ordered those. The speedometer and the gas gauge, those did come with the car, but again, they were in a box. Speedometer cable was still in the car and was still good. So when I installed that all, and once I got the car running, the speedometer does work, which is beautiful. Again, I've got to go through some light bulbs with that. The gas gauge does work, and the neat thing about the gas gauge is I did replace the sending unit, but I'm not sure what year it changed, but in 1965, this is like a bicycle cable. There's an actual mechanical linkage, a mechanical cable connected to a mechanical needle on that gas gauge. And like I said, with the new sending unit, it works. If I haven't mentioned, if you can see it, that's an original gas cap. I really like that. Glove box, the actual box itself, I got one with that parts haul, but it's not in very good shape, and I don't think that's an expensive part, so I'll probably just order a new one. You can see that at all, I don't know, but that's somebody's done some fiberglass work there. For now, I'm not going to mess with that, but when I get to the point where I'm pulling the body and doing the pans, I will probably attack that and see what's going on, because by then I will be quite confident in my welding skills. And again, any one of these panels, I can get it. It's not that expensive for the sheet metal itself. You know, you get into the larger pieces, it is. But all of these pieces and parts are available for a fair price. It's not like it's a 32 Ford. Although I think probably body panels aren't that expensive for that either. But that's neither here nor there. Anyhow, we'll close this back. That is not latching yet, but I don't necessarily want it to. Let me see what you're looking at again. All right. Let's, sorry about the banging. So that front apron is also damaged. So yeah, the basic overview. This is the seat, by the way, for the DS7. It's just a, generic Chinese seat, Amazonian. It's from Amazonia. So the basic overview is, I have no question that this car needs work. It's called a project car for a reason. But a lot of the reason that I wanted to put it back together and get it running and driving is my dad had a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, and he's getting up there in age, and I wanted to make sure that hopefully I can get it. I want to do some bracing and or repairs on that body stuff, but hopefully I can get it safe and sound for him to drive, at least in a parking lot or something. That's definitely one of my goals. Um, I'm not in a place where I can fully restore this vehicle. Um, who knows what YouTube can do? Maybe I can become a big enough channel, baby goals, a big enough channel where I can first monetize and maybe be able to afford to restore this car more correctly. I would still like to do the work myself, but point being, the more I learn, as it says in my description, the better the channel will become. Um, I'm just getting this thing started. I've been playing with the different cameras and have definitely settled on this, which for those of you curious is a Galaxy S10e, which is not that old of a phone, but it's older than what I use normally, but it's a much better, higher end phone. And yeah, I'm very impressed with this phone's camera capabilities. But between that, my phone, another old phone of mine, and the action cam that I bought, we've now got math 4 cameras that I can set up different angles and get different types of footage and stuff like that. I'm learning the editing, and the cutting and trimming isn't that hard, but I'm working on making a logo, maybe doing an intro. Sort of on the fence on that one. I think I'm going to do a real short intro, but I also want to do an introduction video to my channel. But those of you that are watching so far, I appreciate it. Is basically what I want to say, and hopefully we can get this car together enough to where I have no fear driving across town. When I say drive across town, I'm not talking about 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm not quite ready to do that in Mr. Hancock yet, but as I'm saying, hopefully here soon we can get it there to Dad's house and put him in the driver's seat. And once I've done that, then I'm kind of ready to pull this body. In the big scheme of things, one of the other thoughts in my mind is, as long as I can keep this thing on the road, especially next show season, we'll say, I'm not against the thought of somebody making me an offer that I can't refuse. If it's running and driving, that makes that a little bit more possible. I'm not putting it out in the market at all. But I know there are people out there that would love to get a hold of a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle that's ready to be professionally restored. So nothing that I do is going to damage the car from being professionally restored. I'm not chopping the top or anything like that. Any work that I do, I will do with confidence that it can be, if it's not done 100% correctly, it can be undone and done 100% correctly by someone who wants to take it to the next level. I'm not going to do a hack job. If I can't replace the correct parts, then I'm not going to just patch some bullshit together, which is, I think, what's been done a little bit with this car, but not a lot. When you hear about Bondo bugs, I don't think this is a Bondo bug. I think it's had someone start to go after it and realize they were, sorry, my back just popped, and realize that they were way out of their skill set. And again, park it in the backyard, and it started to rot away, and I'm glad I saved it, because I definitely saved this car. It was on the verge of rotting away. If the tarp that it was under had torn or rotted away any more than it would have. This thing would have been in a couple more seasons and it would have been gone. So I'm thankful that I was able to get it for the price that I did. Like I said, it's a learning experience. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving driving it. I just want to be a little bit more confident that nothing's going to break. One of the next things we need to do is go through, I think I might have mentioned it earlier, the transaxle. I have not checked the fluid in that or flushed it and filled it, which needs to be done. I have, the oil is there and it's not terrible, but it needs an oil change. I mentioned I've done a valve adjustment. I've done all the brakes all the way around are brand new. A lot of the drivetrain, as far as the rolling stock, whatever I'm looking for, has been done. It does need some front end work. There's some loose, would it be the kingpin bushing, I believe, and I have not looked into that yet because I may put a adjustable front end, or at least the weld-on adjuster to this front end, because I wouldn't mind dropping this thing a couple inches in the front. I'm not trying to slam it by any way, shape, or form. I've had my lowriders. My back is messed up from lowriders and hardtail chopper bikes and all that crap. I'm too old for that. But as far as, you know, aesthetically appealing, I would definitely want to lower this car probably 2 inches in the front for starters and see where that puts us. But if I can get the adjuster on the front end, then front and rear is pretty much adjustable. You know, successful YouTube guy making millions, air ride and all that, absolutely. But tight budget guy, yeah, I'm gonna do the weld-on adjuster. Again, as I can weld on the heavier gauge stuff, no problem. So that's not gonna be that big of a deal. I just haven't ordered it and decided to tackle that yet. But you know, it's gonna be an ongoing project. Hope you hang around, and we'll see you real soon, I reckon. Thanks. Bye-bye.